Dubious. Today is Q&A and educational day. Let's see if I can put some game down. Tubiest of the tubiest. The best YouTube subscribers on the planet. That's you, and I'm 50 plus. Of course, you can tell by the background, I'm not sitting in a T680. I'm in my home studio, and I'm going to answer a few questions, and then hopefully for Mr. A. Vic, I'm going to try a tactful way of responding that could, and I hope, shed some light on his skepticism about good old me. But first, I'm going to answer a few of your questions. Of course, even at home, the eyes are going to, continue to leak with the allergy thing. So bear with me. I was asked a couple of questions about my Garmin. It's a Garmin Diesel 780. One of the questions, there's a difference between a 780 and a 785. The 785 has a dash cam, and one of the questions was about my dash cam, the African Queen. She wanted to know what dash cam I used, and basically I'm a company driver, so the company has a dash cam in the truck. So I don't really I didn't buy a separate dash cam. And what I'll do when I get in the truck for the other question, I'm going to go through some quick things that I can do on it so far. But I'm going to show you where my GPS is mounted, okay? And a dash cam that's mounted on the back of that GPS wouldn't be functional where I have it mounted anyways, okay? But the fact is that the reason dash cams are utilized in these trucks is because of insurance purposes. If you're an owner operator, you will actually get a discount on your insurance if you have a dash cam. Okay, so that's why owner operators have them. Why company drivers have them, it's not going to benefit you in the way you may think. Will it help? It could. It could. The only way that it could help is if it captured an opposing view of what's being presented, to say, like if you was to get sued or go to court or something. Okay, the dash cam information, and this is a legal issue. So don't kill the messenger. I'm telling you about this. This is a legal issue. Okay, the dash cam is owned by the trucking company, the person that you're working for. The data, the information, or the videos that it captures is owned by the trucking company. So if you got into an accident or something happened and they said, okay, you're fired, and you go, wait a minute, that wasn't my fault. I was sitting still. The truck was impacted while I was in the shower parked. I didn't rip the bumper off of this. What are you talking about? They don't have to release that information to you because it belongs to them. You would actually have to sue for it and go through this long diatribe. Okay, so you put your own dash cam in the truck, and let's say it has a G-force sensor on it, so whenever it gets impacted, it will record. Okay, so you own the camera. Who owns the data? being captured. Without thinking, you're going to say, well, I own the camera, I own the data. Well, it kind of depends. It depends on if you were, let's say you were driving up the road, okay? You're driving down the street and had an accident, or, an accident occurred, and you captured on your dash camera a different angle than the dash camera on the truck that the company owns, but you're driving, meaning you're on duty, okay? And you have this accident. Who owns the footage on your dash camera? I just kind of muddied the waters a little bit, so I hope you can see that I just muddied the waters a little bit. Because you are an employee and you're working for someone else, is that footage yours, or does it belong to the people that you're working for, even though you captured it on your camera? Yes, you could own the footage, but you may not be able to use that footage because you may not own the content of that footage. You follow me what I'm saying? Okay, so do not believe that just because you bought a dash cam and you're a company employee, that's just going to pull your butt out of a ringer. The only way that it will is if it has information on it that the company can use to clear you, because then the company wants it. But if it clears you and faults the company, they can stifle that video. Believe that. Believe it. Because it's true, and it has happened. Okay. I'm not discouraging you from getting a dash camera because it can help you, but the reason truck drivers get those is for insurance and safety purposes, to kind of defend themselves in court. It's what it's for. They actually get an insurance discount for it. Okay. So the other question was, how do I like the diesel GPS 780 so far? And I got to be honest with you and say, I have mixed feelings about it, because it's just, I put addresses in there. It's exactly like I put it in the Google Maps. Gets me right to the place. Boom, pops it up. Address, shows me a picture of the place. Everything's there. I then put that same address in the Garmin, and it has no idea what that address is. Is there a perfect GPS? There's not. And I've heard so many people express that, and I get it. Okay. I've had, I put out a couple of videos that I knew were going to be controversial, so I put them out there. And one was the video on team driving during the mentoring phase. And I've got some comments about it, and I welcome those. I like them. That's why I put those controversial videos out, right? Because I know people have certain feelings about them, but I also know the people who have those feelings, either they've had a bad experience with them in the mentor phase, or there's a preconceived notion. And there's always a preconceived notion, because there's one before you even start trucking school, because you've gone on YouTube and listened to people whine and cry and bitch and complain about the mentor phase. Okay, and so a student will get it in their head, this is going to be an awful person that I'm going to get in the truck with. They're going to just use me to make money and blah, 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 blah. It's all one-sided twistedness. Okay, so I get it. My take on that, you have to watch that video. You'll see what my take is on it. But my response to all of those comments is, give me an example of why you believe the way you believe, that there is going to be a negative effect, or that there is never a time where a mentor should team drive with their student. Give me an example of why. Say it. Say why. Don't just say it all. No, it just can't happen. Because that tells me that you don't know what you're doing is just regurgitating what you've heard many other times before, but you don't have any basis or proof to it. I also want you to tell me when is that student ready to go solo, and how did you know that? because the entire time they sat with somebody sitting next to them. At what point did that person become ready to drive by themselves? I never get an answer to that, because in the video I tell you that that's stupid. Whatever your answer is going to be, there was a time, there was a moment. And at that moment, it wouldn't have mattered if the person was sitting next to him or not, because by your own logic, the time that you say, whether it be a month, a week, 2 months, 10 years, whatever date that you say, then at that date, the mentor should be able to go to the bump, because by your own words, that person is ready to go solo. So why not? You follow what I'm saying? I know you're just going to say, no, it shouldn't happen anyway, just because you want to keep that, you follow what I'm saying? You just want to stay like this and don't want to invite anything in a logical thought process into the mix. I understand. To each their own. I'm not angry or anything. But I'm just telling you, if you don't have any logic with what you say, then you might want to change the way you think. Okay, that's how we get better. That's how we move on in life, I was a student before, just about everybody I know that's driven before was a student. And I've had a lot of people that tell me they had horrible experiences with mentors. And I know that it's a fact. I know that there are people who get on the mentor's truck, and within the first load, the mentor's in the back sleeping while the student's driving. It is just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, but it happens. It does. And I know that it does. But that's not the process. That's that person who's a horrible mentor, and he should be reported, or she should be reported, to the company. Don't be afraid to turn that person in. That's not how you mentor. I've had students where Derek, you guys remember Derek? I picked Derek up in Lancaster, at the Lancaster terminal for Swift. And like all my students, I pick them up at a terminal, and I take them to the back, and we do some, to the back of the parking lot at the terminal, and we do a few backs before we even take off, I told Derek, put the trailer in that hole that's part, and before I can get it out, Derek, bam, done. I got video of that. Derek could drive that truck the day I met him. No doubt. He didn't, I firmly believed within a week, Derek could have upgraded him and went solo. The only thing Derek needed was to know how to perform the job, not how to drive the truck. He could drive that truck. And it was natural for him because he's never been a truck driver before. But the guy can handle it. Still driving with Swift, and still doing a fantastic job at it. But this guy has those natural instincts, okay? But after the first 50 hours, I had no problem. I used to have to tell Derek to park, because he would just drive and look and say, man, where you gonna park? You got like 5 minutes left on your DOT before you have to take your 30 break. We got to take a break on the side of the road. Dude would just drive. Have no problem with him. I have no problem going to the bump with him. I mean, the dude is he was just a good driver. Okay. After the first 50, we team drove, and it worked out great, And then I had a student where we did kind of like a mini team. Basically, he drove his shift out, and then I drove a little more. Then we parked and slept. And it was because I needed to be up with him. I needed to be awake while he was driving, okay? And it took him a little longer, so I couldn't, okay? And then I had students that just had a really, 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 really rough time to try to get any rest while the truck was moving, and it was very difficult for them in their shift. So we stopped team driving, and I did that because when they go solo, they won't be team driving, of course. And I didn't want to. I wanted him to get his rhythm on being able to complete a 500 or 600 mile shift and be okay with it. And so what I'm getting at is you can't just blanket statement and say never ever ever a mentor should never ever go to the bunk or team drive during the mentoring process, because that's ridiculous. Nothing is 100%, but there are occasions where the mentor don't need to go to the bunk. He needs to stay with that student and help them. But in that same situation, that the mentor should never release that student to solo if they don't feel safe sleeping while that person's driving. Why? You don't trust them? You don't trust that student to drive you while you're in the bunk sleep? You don't trust them? If you don't trust them, then why would you sign off on them and let them get out on the road and drive with everyone else's families and friends and themselves? I don't want you to release them while I'm out there. They just may run over me because you didn't feel safe in letting that person have control. That's what you're saying when you say that the student should never team drive. You follow me? Come on. Get right with it. So we're a little bit in. We're 15 minutes in. So I'm going to skip to another controversial video. This guy, his name is A. Vic. He says, man, shut your blank up. Shut that blank up. You don't know what the blank you're talking about. It's people like you that take low rates. I did a video about the protesting, and that's what this guy's commenting on, okay? And you can watch that video up there, okay, about that, okay? He also says he's one of them, I got mine, you need to get yours type of people. So in a nutshell, he's saying the way trucking industry is set up is good. And he obviously don't understand overhead, operational costs, taxes, food, bills. You need, do I need to continue? Yeah, you need to continue. You need to continue to educate yourself because you're not making much sense. But, I'm not gonna, you don't even know the facts. This is the same person. This is the same person commented on the same video 3 times. The same person who just completely disagreed with me, but he commented 3 times. You don't even know your facts. You're just repeating what you've heard someone else. You think that what they are talking about, trucking is a lifestyle. This person doesn't know who I am. This person doesn't know that I don't follow the lead of anybody else but me. He doesn't know. So I was going to go all the way off on this guy, A. Vic. I was going to go all the way off on him and just set him straight. But that's not the productive thing to do. What I want A. Vic to know is before I was first off, truck driving is what I do. It's not who I am. I am a businessman. I have business degrees, 2 of them. My first business I started was a lawn service when I was I wasn't even old enough to drive because I used to push the lawnmowers up and down the street. And then I started repairing lawnmowers in my garage. And then my mom got she was a little perturbed about the lawnmowers in the yard, in the garage. And I started going from house to house repairing and tuning up people's lawnmowers before the lawn season started. Again, I can't even drive at this time, okay? When I finally was able to drive, I did that. I put lawnmowers in the back of my first vehicle was a pickup truck so that I could put my lawnmowers in there. And I went around and cut grass. When I graduated from high school, I went to a junior college, and I got my first associate degree. And then I came back home and I started working in the automotive field and for luxury car dealerships. And I opened a mechanic shop. And I was 22 then. And I've had several businesses since then. And although some made money, I wasn't very successful at it. And I wasn't successful at it because I didn't know business, to be quite honest with you. Okay? It wasn't until later in life, after several failed businesses, and I say fail, I use that term so that we can stay on the same page, but in each instance, I learned something. So I won't call it a complete failure, but I didn't stay in business. Opened it, did it for a while, and then had to shut down because, with one reason or another. But essentially, those are considered failed businesses. It wasn't until I ended up with a business mentor. I met someone who helped me develop a business plan and stick to it, and learn how money works and all that kind of stuff. And then I went back to college. Later in life, I was over 30 years old, and I went back to college, and that's when I went to business school. I actually have business degrees, and I got those through a university of Houston, and I learned a lot with formal education, and I also learned the real world aspects of how money works and how to be successful in business. And it wasn't until then that I was able to get, I have two businesses right now, a real estate business. I have also have a youth sports marketing business, and they do extremely well, bro. I'm explaining something to you, and I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to make a big deal. I'm just trying to educate you a little bit. If you just bear with me, I'm trying to educate you a little bit. I'm not trying to demean you. I'm just trying to prove a point here. But if I didn't work another day in my life, I would be wealthy till I die if I lived to be 500 years old, because I was taught how money works. As I'm driving these trucks down the road, I have other businesses that are making very good money, and I don't have to do anything. That's called wealth. It's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. Wealthy means your money is making you rich. Rich means you are making you rich. You follow me? And I say that by saying this. My second business is a youth sports marketing business, and what I do with that business is host tournaments and events for youth sports. Baseball, boys for baseball, girls fast pitch softball, girls volleyball, and AAU basketball. So I host these tournaments, and then let me see if I can get this thing crooked. It looks funny, okay? And then I promote these students to colleges, and I make a damn good chunk of change doing it. So now, let's fast forward a little bit so I can make this shorter. You had an issue with the way I was talking about that video. I'm going to put it up here about those truck drivers that are whining and crying and bitching and cussing and fussing about having the government step in and make things right for them. I don't believe that the trucking industry is 100% right. Nothing is 100% right. Okay? For instance, well, I'll get to that. But I disagree with them protesting and all this kind of stuff. I just don't believe, well, I know for a fact that if you're going to be successful in business, you don't need that type of intervention. If you're successful in business, you make your own. You write You're right. I got mine, and I want you to go get yours. But don't expect for the government to give it to you or somebody else lay that path out for you. That's not business, which is what I said in the video. That's not business. And these guys are failing because they don't know business. They don't. So hear me. The youth sports marketing business, the season for baseball generally kicks off in about February. Okay. Every year it gets a little bit earlier. It used to be March. Now it's like the beginning of February. You start hosting these tournaments, right? But that was about the time the coronavirus took over, and the counties shut down public parks that I would rent from the city and the municipalities to host my events, and schools that I used to host the AAU basketball tournaments in their gyms and stuff like that, right? So it basically just killed it. I made this much money in 2020 from my youth sports marketing business, a business that makes better than $300,000 a year every year. Okay, I make zero. I lose $300,000. Okay, I didn't whine. I didn't cry. I didn't go to the government saying you owe me $300,000 for shutting these municipalities down. Why didn't I? Because I understand business. That's how it works, man. It's not always sunshining and beautiful and the roses and shit. That's not reality. Reality is businesses has this, bro. And when you're doing this, when your business is climbing, you need to invest for the future. Because if you do not, when this starts happening, you will stand out in front of the Capitol building and all these other places protesting mad because you can't survive. That's the fact, bro. That is it. And you don't have to believe me. Don't have to believe me. If you don't believe me, just take my advice. Don't get in business because you will fail. I did that. I was thinking like you did, and I failed over and over and over until I learned how money works. And that's not how money works. You cannot go to the government and ask them to fix your problem. It just doesn't work. It won't. You will fail at something else. The business will eventually collapse. Okay? So I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm trying to educate you, and I'm hoping that you would at least, me admitting that I failed many of times in business, but it took those failures to wake me up. And now I think different. Things in my life are completely different. And I hope that you're. I don't believe that you're a driver. If you are, then I stand corrected. But just off your comments, I'm thinking that you're probably just somebody who likes to surf YouTube and make comments. But you can't be an owner operator and think that way. You just can't. I don't even think you can own a truck and think the way you're thinking because there's no basis to it. You follow what I'm saying? It's deeper than what you're saying, and business is a lot broader than that. Because if all you need to do is pay bills and pay taxes and, that's it. If that was all that it was to do about business, the vast majority of the public would fail because the vast majority of the public doesn't know anything about taxes. And the vast majority of the public are behind on bills. Period. That's a fact. Okay? That's a fact. I know what I'm talking about. Okay? So all I'm trying to do is educate. And I hope that you get it. Okay? We're not always gonna agree. But at the end of the day, I just want to do everything I can to pass along what somebody had to teach me. Somebody had to pass that along to me. I didn't even get what made me successful in business wasn't necessarily in school. I learned the technicalities of business with formal education. It was my business mentor that taught me the practical application of how business works. And I believe wholeheartedly, if anybody's going to be successful in business, they need a business mentor, not just the formal education, but formal education is extremely important. Okay, almost 30 minutes. Debluntcher 83. This is gonna be the last one. Debluntcher 83. Kind of lashed out a little bit. He's a Swift hater, and he's a Swift hater because it's popular to be a Swift hater, and I get it. I get it, bro. I get it. I asked him a question that I ask all Swift haters, and they answered all the same way. They've never worked for Swift. So, bro, this is what I'm gonna say, okay? Follow me on this, bro. Debluntcher 83 is a cross-dressing, dog raping tree humper. That's what he is, and he's always been that. And if you ever meet him, you're gonna see him, cross-dressing and humping trees, and that's who he is, and that's just a fact. Okay, so now I said that on YouTube, and other people listen to it, and I got almost 3,500 subscribers. They all listen to it. They all spread it to theirs, and before you know it, it is a fact that this person is a cross-dressing tree humper. When in fact, I have no idea if this person cross-dresses or not, or if they hump trees or whatever they do. But because I said it and I spread this gossip, then all of a sudden it gives it some validity because other people are saying it. And the fact is, it is untrue. I just made that up. Okay? That's the way it is with Swift Transportation. They are the largest. Because they're the largest, they get bullied. And JB Hunt was there at one time, and so was other big major companies. They were there. They were the ones that all the jokes was about. Does Swift have wrecks? Name for me the trucking company that does not have wrecks. And, this winter there was a huge major pile up in Rawlings in Wyoming on I-80. It's over 50 trucks involved in that major pileup. Not one of them was a Swift truck. Not one. So there was at least, let's just say, half of them were companies that had multiple trucks in that collision. So that would mean at least 25 different companies was involved in that truck, in that collision that did not have Swift's name on them. You follow me what I'm saying? Everybody has them. Everybody wrecks out, man. Every company has trucks that wreck out. Just because it's got a Swift name on the side doesn't mean that they're bad drivers. I never had an incident. Okay? My mentor, he's been there for almost 20 years or some craziness like that, and it's never had an accident. There's a lot of people who drive for Swift for a long period of time never have an accident. It's not Swift that has accidents. It's the person behind the wheel that has the accidents. So, man, all I want you to do, bro, I'm saying Debluntcher 83, all I'm asking you to do is to think for yourself and don't allow people to box you in, okay? Somebody could say to you, don't work at that company. Don't bank at that bank. Don't, shop at that store, because whatever craziness they come up with, and you don't do those things, that means you're now living in the box of the world that they created for you. And all of the good stuff that's going on outside of that box, you're going to miss out on because you allow someone else to control your thought process. It's not true, man. Swift is a good company. And although in the end, certain people turned on me, it still doesn't mean that the company in whole is a bad company. Does some people have bad experience there? Of course. I had a guy on my live feed one day that had a bad experience there. Of course. There's going to be some people who have bad experiences anyway. I have guys that work for me, and I do have employees, bro. Okay? I've had people who work for me who've had bad experiences, that I've created bad experiences for them. It was the right decision to make me money, and it was a bad experience for them. Okay? But that's business, bro. This wasn't personal. It's business. Okay? So, I hope, I just want you to think for yourself. I don't care if you like Swift or not. That has nothing to do with my point. My point is, for you as a person, do not, just like I just said a bunch of lies about you that was not true. It was stupid. It wasn't, I just made that crap up as I was talking. But just like I make that stupidness up about you, it could go viral, and then everybody believes it is true. It's automatically now true by public opinion. That is ridiculous. And in your mind, you're going, how can you think this way about me? You don't even know me. Exactly. Remember I asked you that question, have you ever worked for Swift? No, I haven't. No. You don't know them, but what you think is what people have framed for you, brother. Come on, man. I want you to think for yourself so you can be a better man. So we all do that. We all trying to be better, okay? So that was my ramble for the day. I went on for 36 minutes. I'm going to do a live, probably, might do it late tonight, so it'll pop up on there and let you know I'm going to do a live today. Or it might be tomorrow. I don't know. Anyways, 30 plus minutes is enough. Until I see you again, deliver undistracted and leave those negative comments. Here we go. Here's your boop.